For Crema Media's Polity, I'm Sane Dlamini, Certified Financial Planner and Acting CEO of the Southern African Saving Institute. Gerald Mwandiambira discusses his book titled My Money. Welcome, Gerald.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Can you briefly tell us what prompted you to write this book and who should be reading it?
Well, what prompted me to write this book is life. It's the experiences which I have been through personally. Being someone who grew up from an environment which didn't have a lot of money, and I had to learn through life's mistakes, and fortunately I did become a CFP professional, so I do understand what I should have done. So really this book is more an expression of what I've gone through in terms of financial planning from a personal perspective, as well as what I feel everyone who reads this book should take out of it. And in terms of who reads this book, it should be anyone. I would actually recommend the book more if you are young and starting out, so that you can not prevent yourself from falling into some of the pitfalls we all do.
And I could notice that in the beginning of the book, you specifically talk to us as parents. Why is it important for us to teach our young kids so early about money?
Well, I think the book it follows a life journey from birth till death. So if you follow the chapters, it starts off with childhood, adulthood drama, problems, and ends off with retirement. So if you really want to start mastering and understanding money, you need to get the core skills and fundamentals when you're still a child. By the time many of us are adults, a lot of the money behaviors which drive what we do are already instilled, and it's much more difficult to break the habits.
And I also noticed that you refer to money as a tool. Why?
Because money is a tool. It's a piece of paper which you can use to do whatever you want. I think a lot of us forget that at times, and we treat it as though it's alive. Money is not alive. Money is a tool. You need to know what to do with it, and you tell it what to do. Now, if you do not tell your money what to do, often what happens is the people who we call the wealthy people, the rich people, have mastered the tool. So they simply manipulate it so that you end up serving money. So it's important that each and every one of us knows and realizes that money is a tool. We must treat it as that and not give it any more importance in our lives than any other tool we use.
Can you also tell us, as a certified financial planner, like what kind of issues you deal with on a day-to-day basis, as well as when would someone come and approach you? At what stage? Well,
everybody should have a financial planning professional, for the simple reason it's like your health or your lawyer. You're supposed to go for money checkups every year, and annual reviews, what we call it in our profession. And it doesn't need to only happen when something's wrong. Unfortunately, most people only think of financial advice when they're in debt, or they have to make big financial decisions, or they've already made those decisions. We need to, as South Africans, get into the habit of realizing that it's not about seeing a financial planner when you have money. It's about having that person as your partner in creating wealth through the journey of your life. So I would say, as you take your first job, select your financial planner and start making those goals so that he coaches you. Because essentially a certified financial planning professional is not just a financial advisor. No, he's a life coach. We are wealth coaches. What I encounter every day is couples going through marital problems because of money. What I encounter every day is families being destroyed because of money. And a lot of the time is because people have never taken the attention to treat money as something that's important and actually needs help from time to time.
You've also had your fair share of issues when it comes to money. Can you just briefly share, and then how you managed to get out of those situations?
Well, it's life. I mean, I lost my parents when I was young, and I became a parent at 23 for 4 young children. So it's about raising your siblings. It's about being an adult before your time, and that's forced me to encounter and treat money in a different perspective at a much younger age. I was having parental responsibilities at 23, and that's a totally different dynamic to someone who goes through varsity and gets to make the mistakes on their own. Now you're making the mistakes with family. So that's the journey most of us face. It's about realizing that if you don't make those key decisions early enough, they stick with you for a long time. Effectively, the rest of our life is defined by the financial decisions we make in our 20s and early 30s.
Okay. And can you share a few mistakes people make, especially when they are joining like the working world? Because we know like people will be talking about buying expensive cars. What must they do?
Yes, it's nice to aspire for nice things, but if you don't sit down with someone and set proper goals, you end up getting things in the wrong order. So it's not sometimes a matter of saying that, you know, you don't deserve a nice car. No, it's about saying before you buy a car, buy a house. Because if you get a bond before a car, it actually increases your net asset value. If you get a car before a house, it reduces your affordability for a bond, and actually you actually can't get a house as nice as you would like. It's about understanding that your first house should not be your death house. But because a lot of us make mistakes along the way, we buy one house in our lives, whereas our house should actually be, the first home should be a stepping stool to the next one and the next one and the next one. But because we never have those goals, we go into one house and 20 years later we're still sitting in that same house. And that's why you need a wealth coach or a life coach or a financial planning professional to sit down with you and say, you know what, this isn't the end of your life. Let's get a house for each of the children. Let's plan ahead. Let's set up a trust fund. Let's do all the things that money can help you do. Because many of us don't even realize the power of this little tool we call money and how it works and how it can work for you.
You've also warned parents not to make the same mistakes that you say your parents did. Can you tell us why you think your parents made mistakes by like making debts in order to make sure that you and your siblings were well off?
I think it's about parents make decisions thinking they're doing them for the children. And education, although being a key to success in life, it is not life. And sometimes parents sacrifice some of the important things in life for education's sake. So a lot of parents put their children in private schools which they know they can't afford. They know. Everyone knows when they pay the school fees that it's hard. The moment it's hard, you can't afford it. It's not a secret. It's not hard for you only. It's only hard because you can't afford it. The people who can afford that school don't moan about the school fees. So if you start sacrificing and diverting too many resources to something you can't afford, it means other areas of life start losing out. So maybe you start compromising the quality of the children's life. You start compromising your own life. When was the last time you went on a holiday? Oh, I'm doing this for my children. I'm doing this for my children. Your children will grow old and they'll leave. And then at that point, you'll ask yourself, where is your pension? Are you going to live off the government-funded pension at 1,650 Rand? It's not possible. So it's about saying, make measured decisions which balance your responsibilities with what you can afford. And it's not a bad thing to aspire for good things, but rather do it in a manner which is responsible and doesn't necessarily end up putting the family A into debt, or B, compromising the quality of family life. Because even if you're investing in your child's education, if you're going to come and shout at the child that the family is suffering because of your school, how is the child going to deal with going to school the next day? And this is a picture that's playing out every single day. Everyone right now, the craze is private schools. Private schools are designed for people who can afford the lifestyle. So if you're not yet there, it's fine. Then set a goal to get there one day. But don't jump into something you can't afford before it's time.
You also say South Africans are bad when it comes to savings. You encourage savings clubs or stokvels. Why?
Because saving and investing takes three elements. It's called sacrifice, commitment, and discipline. Most of us struggle with all three. Some of us, it's one or two. You're lucky. But for most people, sacrifice is hard. Discipline is even harder. Commitment doesn't exist. So by joining a group, it helps you to instill those values in your investment and savings behavior. Because if you're part of a group, they force you to sacrifice. When you meet next month, you have to bring your money. Otherwise, you're out. So you had that sense of belonging forces you to sacrifice. It also forces you to have the discipline. And then often, because you've sacrificed, you've shown the discipline, the commitment will bring forth the rewards. Then you'll be able to do it for yourself on your own.
From the culture where I grew up, we know nothing about like planning ahead for a child before they are before they are even born. But you encourage that if you know when you're going to start having a family, we must start saving. Why is that important?
Because all of us dream of having families. So there's nothing wrong with starting to save for a wedding before you've even had the boyfriend or the girlfriend.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with saving for those children, because life will happen. And that's one of the big mistakes, because we build a structure of life around the individual in the 20s and 30s. Then what happens is you can afford that life as an individual because it's you alone. You add a second person, your spouse or your partner. Then you add another 2 or 3 people, your children. And suddenly that life which was comfortable is no longer comfortable because you never left space to grow. And hence, when you are planning ahead, you are leaving that space for the future to say, you know what, I will grow. So often you were fine. Everyone looks back and says, you know, I was okay until I met you. Yes, because you planned a life as an individual. So because you aspire for family, start planning ahead so that you leave that buffer that when you do get married, you've got extra money and you can accommodate children. And that's the real reality. That's why people say, I earn too little to save. Because your lifestyle was built around an individual. Now you're trying to live that lifestyle with a family, and it doesn't work. So the advice a financial planner would tell you, Sunny, is simply to say, in your 20s, spend 30 or 40% of what you earn. But I've got 60% remaining. That 60% is looking ahead. It's the extra you're going to need to accommodate a spouse or a bigger house or a family. Then when those things come in, suddenly you're no longer spending 40%, you're now spending 60 to 80%, but now you're in a position where you're always comfortable. Now, if you start and you're living at 90% or 100% of what you earn on your own, add a child, you'll never cope. It's the logic. And all of us dream, no, I'll earn more money. If you're going to earn more money, either start a second income or whilst you have that extra 60%, start investing so it becomes that second income.
You also talk about something that is very important, especially to ladies. The issue of wanting to live someone else's life. You want to live comfortably like the Joneses. Why is that dangerous?
Social media. We are now a visual nation. Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is. You are watching someone else's life. But we're too busy looking at other people. We're not even living our own lives anymore. That's why it's important to have that life coach, because I bring you back and I say, Sonny, when was the last time you went on holiday? Stop looking at other people's holidays. Take your own Insta pictures on your holiday. So you start looking at yourself again. The reason why a lot of us have turned to living a life of watching other people is because we're too afraid and know that we haven't dealt with the things ourselves. So social media, having goals, having mentors, having people you aspire to be like, it's great. But you are not anyone else, you are you. And money is about understanding that your ability to master the tool is according to you. You can't be a billionaire if you haven't mastered the tool for yourself. Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey, Steve Jobs, all those guys, all those people became billionaires by mastering their own money environment. What is your money environment? Have you mastered it? Are you buying according to your means? Are you creating the opportunity? Because if you don't, it won't happen. Another thing about wealthy people is they have more than one income stream. No one ever got wealthy with one job. It is impossible. You will live and you will die. If you want to create wealth, it's those investments, those savings, those extra income streams, those companies those people started, which created the wealth, which then becomes something else. And the illusion a lot of us are under is that I can do it just with one job. And the bad news, I'll tell you, you can't. You can't do it in one job unless you're a CEO of a big company. You need to really plan in terms of how do I create the other income streams, how do I create the wealth I need, and then you can start building a dream.
Can you just quickly talk to the women all over the world? I'm sure today, you know, we're celebrating International Women's Day. How do we make our money work for us?
I think for women, the most important thing is, as a woman, you're challenged. Because every woman, as she walks around, carries 2 generations. Right now, you, Sunny, have got the eggs for your daughter, and your daughter's eggs are already inside there. So whenever a woman gives birth, she gives birth to a grandchild as well. So when you plan as a woman, plan for the grandchild, because that's who you are. That's the gift of being a woman. Another important thing for women is the man you choose. The man you choose is key. Do an ITC check on him. Make sure he's honest and a man of integrity, and make sure that you're always protected, because sometimes things don't work out in a relationship. So it's about starting to do those things. Another thing about women is that, you know, there's illnesses which are there these days, the cancers, etc., cervical cancer, breast cancer, you name it. Make sure you have that life policy so that if that thing should afflict you, you are prepared. But a woman has a much bigger role in financial planning, because most men became successful because of a woman. But many of these women do not protect themselves financially.
And lastly, what is the most important message that you hope people will take from reading this book?
I just want people to be comfortable with themselves. I think, you know, when you do a budget, you're just looking at yourself. And many of us don't even look at ourselves in the mirror anymore. We just need to be comfortable with ourselves. So to me, this book should say, this is who you are. This is what money is. Start defining what you want to happen. Paint the picture for yourself. Problem is, we're trying to paint and live other people's pictures. That's the only thing I want. This is not a get-rich-quick book. No, it's not.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get there myself. But it's one of those books which will make sure that at the end of every month, whatever decision you've made, you know why you made it. And if you've made a mistake, you know you made a mistake.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay.
That was Gerald Mwandiambira speaking to Creamer Media's Polity about his book titled My Money.